Roll call. Martina, will you please call the roll to ensure a quorum?
Certainly, starting with Bolinas, Director Molesworth will not be here with us for this afternoon's meeting. For Mill Valley, Director Jones.
Stephen Burke, representing Mill Valley.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr.
Hello.
Burke, Director Burke. For the City of San Rafael, Director Kurtz.
Here.
For the City of Larkspur, Director Way. For the County of Marin, Director Rodoni. Director Rodoni is not here yet, but I believe he may be joining us later this afternoon. For Inverness, Director Donahue will not be with us this afternoon. For Kentfield, Director Evergettis will also not be here with us today. For Marinwood, Director Shea. Not here. For Muir Beach, Director Murray will not be with us today. For Novato, Director Goins.
Here.
For Sleepy Hollow, Director Finn.
Here.
For Southern Marin, Director and Board President Hilliard.
Here.
For Stinson Beach, Director White.
Here.
For the Town of Corte Madera, Director Andrews. Okay, not here with us this afternoon. For the Town of Fairfax, Director and Board Vice President, Director Kohler.
Here.
Here. For the Town of Ross, Director McMillan.
Here.
And for the Town of San Anselmo, Director Schlesinger will also not be with us today. We do have a quorum present and can proceed with the meeting. There are enough board members here to represent the majority.
For the record, Director Rodoni is here.
Oh, thank you. Welcome, Director Rodoni.
Thank you. Item 3, agenda adjustments. Do board members or staff have any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to item 4, open time for public expression. The public is welcome to address the Board of Directors at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the board. Please be advised that pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2, the board is not permitted to talk, to discuss, or take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments may be no longer than 2 minutes and should be respectful to the community. Please silence your cell phones during the meeting and mute your microphone when not speaking. Thank you. Are there any members of the public here or online that wish to make a comment at this time?
And I see no hands for comment at this time. There are also no hands in the room.
Thank you. Seeing no comments, we will move on to item 5, Executive Officer's Report. Executive Officer Mark Brown will provide the staff with a report on this item. Mark.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just making sure my slide presentation is pulling up properly. While it does that, I'll just hit the first item. I asked the board, based on also some requests from multiple board members, that we have a moment of silence thinking about the disaster that happened in Lake Tahoe and the impact it is having on our communities in Marin. Thank you. I know it's weighing heavily on many of us, and who knows? I haven't been able to see the news, but I would imagine that there's going to be some direct connections for people that are involved with Marin Wildfire, either on the board, staff, member agency staff. So let's pray for the best, obviously. With that, I would like to move to good news. We'll counter that sad news with some really good news. At our last board meeting, I believe it was, I brought to you a partnership that we had been creating with Marin Community Foundation, the Moore Foundation, Marin Wildfire, and then specifically Mercury Insurance. Mercury had approached us mentioning that they were interested in taking homes that are on the California Fair Plan off the Fair Plan and be insured by Mercury if they met these particular items that Mercury had come up with. They are a couple steps below a wildfire prepared home standard designation from the International Association of Institute of Business and Home Safety, IBHS. We felt that they were really reasonable standards. And so when they said that their goal was to get people off the California Fair Plan, we looked at our data. Inverness has the largest population of the California Fair Plan. 36% of the policies in Inverness are on the California Fair Plan. We also looked at the data and saw that there were about 200 or 300 homes within Inverness that were only 1 or 2 steps away from meeting Mercury's guidelines. So I'm happy to announce that as of last week, a house has been removed from the California Fair Plan and is now insured by Mercury Insurance. So we've accomplished at least at one house. It did take some financial resources to get that house to be compliant. But when the resident compares what they had paid for in California Fair Plan rates and their wraparound rate to what they're paying for with Mercury, she's estimating a 5-year return on investment, which if you think about what you're invested in your house, a 5-year return on investment is pretty darn good, in my opinion. I know in solar, if you have a 7-year return on investment, it's considered average. So we're super happy about that. We do have permission from the property owner to make a news story about it. Mercury has already agreed as well to make a nice news story about it. And the goal of the news story is to get people to realize that that option is out there so that we can expand upon this one success. First of all, with Mercury, and Mercury's already called up and said, hey, what areas of Marin can we also start doing this in? So we've done that analysis and we're about to meet with Mercury again and show them a couple different other communities that they can do this in. But more importantly, we want other insurers to follow Mercury into Marin because of those 300 homes I told you about in Inverness, Mercury really doesn't have a desire to insure all 300 because they need diversification within the market. But a huge early success. We only went to the public about 2 months ago with this, and we already have a house that is now insured by Mercury rather than the California Fair Plan. So I'm very excited about this. As you guys know, and it's in the consent packet, but the annual report is out. I get tired, exhausted, I should say. I get exhausted reading some of the accomplishments when I read through our annual reports each year. It reminds me how busy that we've been through the year, and it kind of exhausts me. But if you can't tell, though, I'm very proud of what we're accomplishing year in and year out. Pretty timely as well, considering we're going into a strategic retreat. Wanted to share another piece of just a little tidbit of information that I was super happy about. I don't know if you remember about a year ago, some new website accessibility laws were passed. When we built our original website, we made sure that it met the current accessibility standards. And then as we add pages here and there, as we make a tweak on our website here and there, you kind of digress away from the law just because the people who were making the updates didn't know what the requirements were. And then the new requirements came out, the legal requirements. So we asked our web developer, Polygons Media, to make sure that our website was fully accessible up to the newest standards. And I had a recent meeting with a couple of ladies who are experts when it comes to accessibility, it comes to disabilities, and it comes to working with the elderly. And at the end of the meeting, they specifically said, hey, by the way, we want to thank you for your website. We went to your website and we tested it to see its level of accessibility. And you guys are the model that other people should be following. We've actually already pointed other people towards your website as what accessibility should look like. And they even took down the name Polygons Media, and they're recommending Polygons to other people who need to meet the accessibility. So it's just one of those small accomplishments that you feel good about, that you know that you put in an investment towards something that may or may not have been noticed by anybody. And then out of the blue, you hear that. But that's not even our biggest news. Does somebody want to give me a drum roll? Because this really does deserve a drum roll. We've been nominated for and will receive a Wildfire Mitigation Award from the National Association of State Foresters, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the National Fire Protection Association, and U.S. Forest Service. It's an annual award that's been given out for the last 10 years or so. These groups came together because there are so many efforts that are going on across the country that they felt that it was necessary to start recognizing people. So these awards are designed to recognize outstanding service at the federal, state, local, and tribal levels of government and at the local community level. By honoring you, the award also sponsors also seek to increase public recognition and awareness of the value of wildfire mitigation efforts and provide high-quality examples that others can learn from in helping their own communities. Specific comments from the committee. The committee is impressed by the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority for its remarkable systems-based approach to wildfire mitigation, inspecting tens of thousands of homes, treating thousands of acres, and hardening evacuation droughts, and empowering the community to proactively reduce risk. Very excited that we were nominated and selected to receive this award. It will be presented to us at the International Association of Fire Chiefs WUI conference in Reno in March. Been able to connect with President Hilliard to make sure that she can attend with me so that we can accept the award together at the conference in Reno. And then part of when they put out the nomination, part of the nomination was to also to include a media plan because they really want this to be well publicized. And so the sponsors will be putting out a press release at the end of February, beginning of March. And once that press release is done, then we'll follow up with our own press release. And then we'll make sure that there's good video capture of President Hilliard receiving the award. And again, that will be pushing out a very large media presence just so people can see the accomplishments that not only Marin Wildfire, our member agencies, but the commitment our taxpayers have made to wildfire mitigation by both funding Marin Wildfire, but also taking action in their properties. And with that, I'll stop my screen share and take any.
Well, this is the time where I'm going to ask the board for questions and comments, but I'm taking privilege to be the first one to say congratulations to each one of you, to Mark, to Ann, to Martina, for all the work you put in. But I also want to thank the board members who put so much work into where we are now. And I know for sure I'm only there as a face for all of you because you deserve to be there more than I do. But it's really a privilege. And I'm very excited about this recognition. So thank you so much. That's my part. And now I'd like to take questions and comments from the board members. Who would like to make a comment or have a question about what's happened so far? Okay. Tom.
Yes, please. I just want to mention that in late January, I had the opportunity to accompany our executive officer to a conference at the University of San Francisco School of Law, where its law review put on a multifaceted day-long conference regarding wildfire in California. Some of this was brought about by the Palisades fire, so there was a lot of discussion of tort liability, but there was also kind of a multidisciplinary approach to the whole thing, and presentations from experts in multiple subject matter areas. One of the things that struck me about the conference was how much favorable commentary there was about Marin Wildfire, and in particular Chief Brown. So our reputation has spread far and wide and was reinforced at this conference. I was very proud to be there to hear it and see it all take place. So thank you, Chief.
Great. Anyone else? Don't be shy. Okay. So I'll now take public comment on this item. Is there any member of the public present or online that would like to make a comment?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay, seeing none, let's bring it back to the board for any further discussion. No motion is needed here. Okay, then we're going to move on to item 6, the consent calendar. The opportunity for public comment on the consent calendar items will occur prior to the board's discussion of the consent calendar. The board may approve the entire consent calendar with one action, and the alternative items on the consent calendar may be removed by any board or staff member for separate discussion and a vote. I will now yes, okay, Barbara.
Thank you. We're short on microphones today. We're sharing. Yeah, but there's probably more mics in case people show up. I just want to say, I'd like to pull 6C. I'd like to hear a little more. I read the refreshed reports, but I'd like to hear a little more about how many rangers, what's the percentage of work that they do that's related to wildfire, how that works out, and how that's reflected in our work plan. Appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet. So I'll start the topic, and then we have Quinn Gardner and Lynn Osgood available to follow up with additional conversations. As a background, it was, this is a follow-up of the Community Oversight Committee's finding that they wanted to make sure that the board was comfortable with whatever cost share that had been established for the Rangers, and that it was not really a 100% funded position by Marin Wildfire, but that there was some form of cost share. As we worked through that, one of the directives or the conversation from the board was, it's likely that there's already a cost share. We just need to show the cost share. We've not done a good job of showing that cost share in the past. Secondarily, they wanted to make you as the board expressed not to have a significant deep dive into the data. In other words, let's not have a spreadsheet that shows this is how much effort was on this day compared to this much effort. What was asked that we come up with a overall ratio that seemed to make sense. And so when we dug into it with San Rafael PD, San Rafael Fire, Novato PD, and Novato Fire, it came to light that there already were significant cost shares that were already built in that were not well described in the work plan. That's 100% correct. And so we asked San Rafael PD and Fire and Novato PD and Fire to do an analysis of what the current cost shares were and give us a staff report to outline that. And I'll kick off to Quinn, who I see we have on the.
I'm sorry, Mark, I have to interrupt this for a minute. It says here that if we want to pull the item, that we're going to now have to entertain a motion to approve pulling the item, I think. No, we don't. Good, thank you. Never mind. Go right ahead.
Okay. Quinn, with that preface, do you want to, I don't know how much you heard from me, but if you want to talk about how the methodology was created for the cost share, talk about the part-time and how much the part-time positions and how much time of the part-time positions are actually towards wildfire mitigation compared to non-mitigation efforts and stuff like that.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so over the last 5 years, we've had varying types of ignition reduction programs associated with the Rangers. Not uncommon within public safety and law enforcement positions right now. Recruitment and retention has been a challenge, and so we're moving into a model that is going to be more part-time work and less full-time because we have a better confidence of being able to fill those positions. So that's a little bit of a shift, but it actually, in theory, is going to lower the cost and I think produce a higher hopefully confidence from the board that the work being done, these are people solely being hired as part-time rangers to do wildfire mitigation work. They're not going to be officers with another duty as assigned per se. And I think that was kind of a concern we'd heard from the board in the past. And so we did an 85-15 share just because we know that there's inherently always going to be something that might feel uneasy for someone, although we do fully believe that our rangers are doing mitigation work all the time, even when they're in downtown San Rafael talking to someone living outdoors. They're still potentially removing ignition sources. They're preventing a tent from catching fire that then passes to trees or buildings and things like that nearby. And so that's where that 85-15 is coming from. We've talked to the supervisor, who is a a full-time police officer with the department around how much ranger work they were doing, and they were never compensated for that with Measure C money in the past. That was part of the city's in-kind contribution, if you will. And they estimated about 25% of their time was going towards supporting the ignition reduction activities. So we reduced that to 15% of their time being Measure C funded, with the understanding that with 3 rangers, hopefully they're doing less patrols, but there'll also be more people to manage and that type of work. And the part-time hours, and the reason there's not specific dollar numbers in the report, one, it's part of the budgeting and the work plan process, and so this was outside of that, so we didn't want to duplicate or circumvent that process in any way. And then also the dollar figures are tough because we don't know exactly who's going to be in those positions, how many actual hours they'll work. It's not a salaried position. They're only going to be paid for hours worked. And so that's where that budgeting piece comes in. So part-time can be between 960 to 1,250 hours per fiscal year, depending on the retirement system someone came out of. There's different limitations. So this is such a critical program to preventing ignitions. I think last year alone, we had something like 30 ignitions. And we can, continue to see those ebb and flow based on the work we do. Our rangers also support the safety of our crews and making sure that open space is clear for work. They do a lot of work, especially before we bring the goats in, to make sure that our herders have safe environments to work in, and that no one's going to be inadvertently impacted by fuel reduction work. So it's an incredibly important position to us, and happy to answer any other questions, but I hope the staff report helped clarifies the firm belief in this work, and kind of where those percentages of cost share came in.
Thank you, Quinn. This is Barbara Kohler. Just a question. So you mentioned you had some concerns about developing the costs. I'm assuming since you'll be working on the work plans now that you'll be able to quantify that for what you'll be putting in the work plans, because as Mark mentioned, they weren't in the work plans before that way. So will you be able to do that for the work plans coming up? Costs as well as
Yeah,
percentage?
absolutely. So I think the distinction is we always have the costs in the budget and the work plan in the budget, but I think the distinction that you're asking for is to make sure that the work plan also at least calls out the city's contribution and the general fund. So that's clearly within the project description as a.
Martina?
Okay. Okay, so just sorry to belabor this. Just a question is, so in the work plan, will you show the cost share as well as what the costs are for the 3 part-time rangers as well as the supervisors?
Yes, we'll include those.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that was the pulled item.
Just for San Rafael, we need Novato.
And Novato, unfortunately, Battalion Chief Osgood is in a strategic planning session for Novato, but I've been able to communicate with her. One of the questions that Director Kohler had was how many rangers? It's one ranger. And the key to that one ranger is that the Novato PD, being separate from Novato Fire Protection District, actually invoices Novato Fire, and they only invoice for the time that mitigation ranger is working on mitigation activities only. So the salary burden that Novato Fire District covers is 100% wildfire mitigation and only wildfire mitigation.
Okay, just a question, Mark. So the revised staff report did talk about 1, but then it talked about 1.5. So that was a bit confusing. And then it also talked about the split between supervisory. So I'm guessing it is 1 ranger, even though the staff report wasn't totally clear. And so the same question for the work plan, will Novato be able to quantify the cost shares as well as the numbers, et cetera, for the work plan?
And I was able to confirm with the Battalion Chief Osgood that she said yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'll take any questions or comments from the board.
So in terms of the funding, these are the local funds, is that correct?
San Rafael uses a blend of local and core.
So in terms of the local fund component, we don't actually go when other jurisdictions, right? Do we get an actual breakdown of everything that's being done with the use of local funds? and that decision and the determination of how those local funds are spent.
What we've always handled with local and D-space funds is that the board is, there actually are detailed proposals for all uses of local and D-space funds. The board acknowledges that. And if the practice has been, if the board felt that that was not in alignment, then they would, and this hasn't happened, but the practice has built that if the board felt it was not in alignment, they would be able to say, no, we're not comfortable with that. But you're right that the board does not approve local or D-space, but they do acknowledge it.
Sure. And so now there's a question in terms of providing additional level of reporting and detail. And I just want to make sure, because that now goes back onto staff, or is that going to be provided by MWPA to provide that additional level of reporting and detail?
Well, if it's going to be a local project, it would need to be on the local agencies to be able to provide it. I can't, my staff can't provide local details.
Okay, but so it's local decision, questioned by the board, but now the board is asking for additional level of detail back to the jurisdiction. So will additional funding go towards the jurisdiction to support any additional reporting that's needed?
That would be part of your local and D-space funding.
I think I want to add just that the COC, just in general, has been asking to make sure that we have better information about local funds as well. So it's, they want to make sure that we are all accountable for our local funds, all of us.
And so maybe it's an opportunity to look at across all the how the local funds are being spent, and if there's a request to provide additional reporting around those across the board, then we should look at how that's going to be done.
I guess I just want to say, I think when we put together our local funding, I'm just talking about Fairfax, we're clear what we're going to do with it. And all I'm asking is for clarity, not necessarily,
I think San Rafael's clear as well.
Okay, well,
So,
it
I mean,
hasn't
but I
been.
think there's a request from the board or consideration from the board to provide additional information for local funds, which I understand, but we need to make it consistent for all local funds.
Can we ask that this go back to staff and that we come up with a solution or to satisfy the questions here as opposed to a whole discussion here now?
We can. I would really, really like to put this matter to bed. This is
Okay.
something that we've been discussing for over a year now. And I think the outline that is in the staff
I'm
reports
sorry,
with-
again, is this a part of how do we handle this in connection with the agenda?
This is a distinct agenda item. It was consent, but it was pulled, and this is specifically about accounting for the ranger program, I believe is
this
the
is
focus. But if it gets to
6C.
be, if it gets to be broader than that and becomes a discussion about how to handle all local project accountability, then we should probably agendize it separately. But if we're sticking to just how to deal with the ranger issue, then we can safely have this discussion.
Bruce, you had, Director, go
I'd
ahead.
like to make one comment. Nevada, all of Nevada's local funds go to grants, 100%. This project comes from a different source of funding, whether it's, I think it's D-Space, it could be core, I don't know. But I think the fundamental question here that was presented by the COC, they asked whether or not MWPA funds were paying for police work as opposed to MWPA work. And the answer that we came back with, Nevada's answered is that Nevada Police Department bills for MWPA related work and they pay for when this ranger does police work, period. I don't see that in this staff report. I think that's what's missing. This staff report shows that Nevada's project is 74% MWPA money and I think 26% local police department, police chief, police superintendent. But I think the fundamental statement that needs to be made in these fundamental record is that Nevada Fire does not bill for police work to MWPA, period. That's a fact. And we have that on record. So I think for this work plan, the projects need to state clearly that this is a request for funding for wildfire prevention work, and clearly that police work will be paid for by the police department. That's period. That's it. That's it. That's the fundamental issue here.
Thank you.
And I feel like the data that was included in the staff report, if it's, as long as it's transferred into, this is my perspective, as long as it's transferred into the work plan proposal, then we've met the requirements of what the board is asking for today.
Any further comments? Okay, sorry, Director McMillan.
Will the COC have an opportunity, Mark, to look at these two reports and say, yeah, this is great, or to further nitpick at it?
The position the COC took, which I thought was an appropriate COC for the COC, was it's not their purview to come up with a ratio. Their question was a ratio discussed with the board, and was the board good with that ratio? And I feel like we're getting there with this conversation.
So they should be satisfied with this information and the board's discussion.
They may or may not agree with the decision, but they will be satisfied with the fact the board has made a decision on it.
Okay, and that's the genesis of this whole discussion.
100%.
Okay,
It is.
thank you.
And I just want to close in terms of talking about the making sure, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to direct my where to direct my comment. Is that the points that Director Kohler has mentioned in terms of the actual reporting and what's needed, both in the local funds, I think we can apply that also for JPA-wide projects as well. So in terms of providing that visibility and that level of detail. So I think that if we're going to look at it local, we can look at it across the board. So, but we could take that off as a separate conversation.
And if it's helpful as well, as Ann was working with the operations committee, which is staffed by your fire chiefs and your city managers, they felt that the ignition reduction efforts that are performed by the fire mitigation rangers was important enough to actually add it to the strategic guidance. So it's your fire chiefs and city managers saying that these are valuable programs.
Thank you. Okay. So now we are back to the full consent calendar. We've discussed item C separately, but I now need to entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar, and I will. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to move the consent
Wait,
calendar.
no, okay, do we need the?
I think we.
The motion before the public comment? Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Director Kohler and a second by Director Evergettis. And now before we take a vote, now I'm really confused. Okay. So,
And then just for the record, for the minutes, we had the motion by Director Kohler with a second from Director White.
White, thank you. Sorry, Director White. Public comment. Thank you. All
And
right,
there are no
so
hands
any
at this
members
time.
of the public, either present or online, that wish to make a comment about this item before we take a vote?
There are no hands at this time.
Seeing no hands, and we can do this by a voice vote, right? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. Now we're on to item 7, staff reports. So the December finance report, Marin Wildfire Finance Team will provide the staff report on this item. I will now okay, so will you first make the presentation and then I'll take questions.
And I regret to inform you that we're still working through the logistics of the transfer of the finance team at Southern Marin Fire. The creation of our monthly finance report has not been fully implemented into the workflow of the new team. And so unfortunately, we do not have a December or a February finance report to present today.
Can they give you an expectation when that will happen?
I'll be honest, we've been struggling to get an answer.
I'll work on it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're moving on. We don't need public comment. We don't have a report. So we're going to go to item 7.
Just a clarification on the agenda, it says the December finance report?
That would be a typo.
Yes, I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
Oh,
for
thank
catching
you.
that. That's why I started to say December and I'm like, no.
Yeah,
So
thank
just
you.
update that agenda item.
Thank you. So is that so noted with staff, correct?
So
You're cor-
noted.
You're correct. Okay, good. All right. So item 7, B is work plan implementation update. Planning and Program Manager Ann Krelock will provide the board with a staff report on this item. Ann?
Hello, everyone. I will just share my screen. Great. So I often start with our public education and outreach and field trips, especially because I love the photos that come out of these field trips. It's a lot of fun. We've been very active and we want to remain active this spring, reaching out to the public and bringing people out to project sites. This is a photo from a field trip we hosted in January to the Inverness Sea Haven project area. We got really good turnout from neighbors. We first reached out to neighbors to see if we could fill our slots. We were limited due to parking, and it filled up very quickly. So we did not reach out to the greater public just to keep the numbers under control. But we had a really great time out there, answered a lot of really good questions. Big thanks to Ted, one of our VMSs, who helped host this, and also Inverness. David Briggs. So great time. And January, we also helped host a panel on prescribed fire, also with ESP Partnership, our environmental partners. And that was an online discussion with multiple partners, Marin Water, state parks, and others, discussing, challenges and opportunities on prescribed fire. That video is online and available. And if and we'll add a link to that on our website. And in March, we're hoping to host a field trip to a demonstration garden in Novato. So we're working on a date there. In April, we're going to visit San Rafael Hill and take a look at where we've been removing gorse and broom and where a prescribed burn will take place. And then later on in the season, we'll go back to the Greater Mill Valley Fuel Break and revisit the site that we visited last fall. So we're excited to get people out in the field again. We have a lot going on in the vegetation management world. A lot of what we're doing now during the rainy season is planning for next season. So getting the botanists out to different project sites, reaching out to residents to get right to enter. So some of our larger projects, like the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break, covers 2,000 parcels or so. And so there's a lot of outreach, knocking on doors to make sure we have permission to work ahead. We do have a couple of projects that are still active right now, weather permitting, and that includes some work in the Muir Beach area. Terwilliger, on that property, we had some hazard dead trees that were leaning over the road, and we've been removing them as the weather allows, and all of this work is supported, of course, by biologists. Now that we're in the nesting bird season, we also have nesting bird surveys going on. And we're partnering with national parks again to retreat the areas along Highway 1 in Muir Beach on NPS land, the old Banducci Ranch. This is about a mile long of roadside vegetation management in areas where both NPS and Muir Beach folks have prioritized. And that's been a great partnership with NPS. This is a photo of the treatment area. There's non-native heather kind of in pink in the distance. And what we've been doing is a couple of years ago, we went in and removed some shrubs, maybe half of the shrubs, say, and as they're growing back, we're leaving them this time around and removing the other shrubs that we hadn't removed previously. So we're doing kind of this patchwork type vegetation treatment, and it's been working quite well. We also hosted regulatory agencies, California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Water Board out at various project sites in the coast. Since we have that emergency proclamation and that environmental compliance process, that's part of the process too, just bringing those regulatory agencies out to your project sites and showing them around. I asked the reps if they had any suggestions, any changes they'd like to see, and they didn't have any suggestions. They really liked what they saw. They were very happy with our work. Also, we worked with Fire Safe Marin to submit a grant application for $100,000 to do additional work within these approved projects in Inverness, Bolinas, and Stinson Beach. PG&E has a program that really targets fire safe councils, and so Fire Safe Marin took the lead and worked with Marin Wildfire, Inverness, Bolinas, and Stinson Beach to get some additional funding. So fingers crossed there. We have a lot going on in the data and GIS world as well. We continue to collect data as we implement projects so we know what's going on and where, what kinds of treatments. We've been standardizing that data collection, trying to make it smooth and efficient. We just collected data for the last 3 months of 2025, and there's a process where we kind of clean it up, make sure it's all standardized. It gets fed into, our mapping and into the Willow Lab modeling, and then it'll go into the dashboard and be visible online. And so that's coming up probably by the end of the month-ish. So our vegetation management dashboard should reflect that work soon. We also developed a new mapping application for member agencies so that when you're planning a project, you've got all of the sensitive resources mapped, riparian areas, northern spotted owl, nests, rare plants, etc. And as you are planning, you can take a look at the map, even draw potential, next polygons. You've got your right to enter information in there, green dots, yellow dots, red dots. And then as you implement, you're drawing those polygons into the map. And so you're really closely planning with all the resource data, and you're implementing and you're tracking that implementation all in one place. So it's a really great streamlined way to do project planning, implementation, and tracking. And it's a great move forward so that we're all working with the same platform, sharing data with Marin County Parks when we work on their property, etc. We're also creating a new hub so that we'll have dashboards and other data in a centralized location and make it more accessible to the public and member agencies. And we're also working on a training series for member agency staff and partners as well. So any of the land management agencies that want to take part and get a refresher on GIS skills, we'll be developing some curriculum with our Green Info Network contractor. We're also working on the CWPP update, Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and this is ongoing. There are a lot of stakeholder meetings going on. We have the 6th stakeholder meeting coming up in early March. We've been assigning homework to member agency staff and all of those stakeholders, really trying to advise them on how to dig into the tools, the maps, the data, and then get their input. So what looks off, what do you have questions about, and what can we adjust as we go forward? So we take that input, adjust the modeling, the mapping, the output, and then we recirculate it and talk about it and ask for more thoughts. And we've been moving forward quite well. It's been really exciting. We've also had office hours so that any of the stakeholders, the member agency staff, et cetera, can meet one-on-one with the consultants. So we've had about 3 weeks of Monday midday office hours where anybody who's interested can just jump in and ask all of their toughest questions. We are going to be shifting gears to public outreach soon. So we're really going to target May for public outreach since it's Wildfire Awareness Month. And so we're going to be meeting with our CWPP stakeholders to get a better idea for what that outreach should look like. And then we'll finalize our plans and let you know. And then at the end of the process in the summer, then the fire chiefs will work with all of you and your boards and all the appropriate boards to Braun as well for approval with our support and the consultant support. And I want to note that the modeling comes in handy in a variety of ways. So for example, last night, some of us went to San Anselmo's open space committee meeting. And it's not the work that's going on in Storage Park, the goat grazing that's going on right now, isn't a Marin Wildfire funded project, but it's grazing, and maybe in the future we'll fund some work in that area, and we're all interested in supporting each other's work. So we were able to present to the Open Space Committee, and in March we'll talk to the Town Council and really show why work in this particular location is a high priority. So you can see the fire pathways modeling on the right, showing multiple pathways going through Storage Park and into neighborhoods. So interrupting those pathways with vegetation management is a really critical component of kind of this overall strategy to reducing risk. So the green polygons are Marin Wildfire approved projects, Measure C funded. And then in addition, San Anselmo is doing some goat grazing in Storage Park. And there were a lot of questions about goat grazing and native plants and non-native plants. So we had a biologist there and Ross Valley Fire and ourselves and had a really good conversation. And then I also want to note on our website, the Science and Research webpage, we have a new white paper discussing grazing and sensitive plant species and sensitive ecosystems, just kind of a review of the peer-reviewed science around that. So that's available for the public, and we provided that to San Anselmo yesterday. We're working on development of the 26-27 work plan. So the ATC and the Operations Committee are diving into all of these topics, trying to figure out what we want to do next fiscal year. As Mark mentioned, updating guidance to include ignition reduction. So for those in the public, each year we develop a new work plan for the next fiscal year, and that process goes from around December through May. And the Operations Committee is a great meeting to attend for those in the public who want to listen in and hear what we're working on. The board will make a decision in May 21st. So the overall schedule is the same, roughly as it is each year, but per board request, I added another item in April, and that is starting the conversation with this board about the work plan and what's included in the work plan, so that there's so much to talk about, we're not jamming it all into that May meeting. So we'll start that discussion in April and then give you all time to digest and engage and ask questions, and then we'll be able to make a decision in May. So in the meantime, we are right now, in terms of the process, we've been working on those JPA-wide proposals and the budgeting and kind of the math. And then we're working with the member agencies on potential projects within the different zones. So that's where we are, and happy to take any questions.
Director Kohler.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. Seems like it's a whirlwind, and I'm surprised you're still breathing. But I'm interested that you met with the San Anselmo Open Space Committee to specifically talk about goat grazing. We know in particular one individual has been very vocal against, and I know you did something for me at my request last year when we wanted to do goat grazing on the wall property. So I'm heartened to hear that the meeting went pretty well. I'm hoping that we're waiting for environmental work before we start goat grazing on the wall property, which is 100 acres of open space. And I also think, I'm hoping you'd be open to meet with our open space committee before we start that work. I think you bring a tremendous amount of credibility with your research on the science, and so just want to put a plug in for that. I don't know when we'll be starting that work because we're still waiting for the environmental work, but really appreciate your efforts in that area. There appears to be a lot of misinformation out there, and I know you do a great job of kind of straightening that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Be happy to join you. I also want to note Jacob Dadman joined me there as well. And Ross Valley Fire was there and they spoke, and the biologist who's been monitoring plants and doing extensive botanical surveys was there as well. So it was really great information to supplement the whole discussion. And so it was a really good discussion, and I hope to have many more of them.
Thank you so much. Okay, this is time for comments from the board and questions from the board, but I want to thank you very much for posting the schedule at the end of your report every time. That really is helpful for me to follow, because although we've seen it many times, it puts everything into context. So I appreciate it if you keep doing that. Thank you so much. Okay, super. I'm Director Kurtz.
Thank you for the update. It's great to see everything going on. In the report that was attached to the agenda, there was an update on the Zone Zero in a box and with the 2 pilot areas. And I was wondering I know Kathleen, yeah, if you could share a little bit in terms of the criteria that's being used for the pilot areas, and if it's taking into consideration, are they in the WUI? Is it aggregated fireside data? Is it the CWPP? What's really driving that in terms of those areas? Because both pilots are in the Southern Marin area. And I was just curious how that came about.
Hello,
Introduce yourself, please.
I am Kathleen Cutter. I am the manager of the Zone Zero in the Box program. The name, we will be changing the name, so just so it's not a shocker in the future. It's a great question. The question, I won't recap it, but the reason, so one of those projects is in Marin County Fire's jurisdiction, and the other one is in Mill Valley or Southern Marin's jurisdiction. So that's an important distinction. We're also reaching out to Ross Valley as well as the others. So we're going to be reaching out to each of the jurisdictions across the zones. We've already in conversation, so all the fire agencies are aware of this program. I've talked to the prevention folks. How are we selecting them? It's really a number of factors. Basically, we have a map we're in development of layering the wildland urban interface map, the high wild severity maps. Also, the local fire department will say these are areas that we want to focus on because of our suppression experience, starts experience, that sort of thing. I should say ignitions experience. As well as fireside data, fire pathways data, all the modeling, it's all being collapsed on a map to help us identify strategic neighborhoods, which we're going to focus our pilot projects on.
Okay. And when do we go out of the
Great question. We are, yeah, there's a process in it. There's the first one in the southern, in the Marin County, Marin City. It's in process. That one is focused, just so you know, on a removal of vegetation in Zone Zero. But it's an HOA, so there's stuff under they're reviewing what the work is going to be done. So that's why we haven't punched go on it. Marin City, in Southern Marin, we're waiting on some DA if that's going to be able to be available. So there's things that are slowing the process down. We want to make sure we get this right. I anticipate we'll be through these projects in the next couple months, and then we'll have a better way forward, knowing that we're taking the right steps to go there.
Great.
To execute it. So I'd say, hopefully, within the time frame that we were expected to, that we're projected to get it out.
Okay, great. And one more follow-on question around that with Marin City, which is fantastic that it's there. Are those single-family residences or multi-resident units?
They're condos and so they're single unit. They're owner. Property. It's individual property owners on it.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, Director Goins.
I attended the Inverness field tour, and Ann, spectacular job. You and the team that did the work out there. There were 2 sites that we looked at. One which is around the parking lot. One which is very close is it Shell Beach or? Anyway, I witnessed the original work going on 3 years ago around the parking lot, and it's grown back 8 to 12 feet already. So just the return. But what shocked me is that the other project that was just done, the cost per acre for the vegetation work out there was $50,000, according to the project manager, and it was shocking. And but the benefit is, once in and done, the cleanup and retreatment should be substantially reduced. But $50,000 is, he stated at $50,000. It's shocking, and we need to be exceedingly careful where we treat, what we treat, how we treat, but let's pat ourselves on the back. The retreatments can be cheaper. Anyway, I'm a forester and I was shocked.
Do you want to respond, Ann?
Yeah, I'll just note that, now that we have initial treatment in some places and going back and retreating those locations, I'm asking the member agencies through the ATC to help me gather that data so we can better project what kind of maintenance costs we're already committed to. And we can really think about that budgeting moving forward. And all this modeling that we're doing, the fire pathways analysis, the CWPP, that's going to help us really put our money where it's most effective.
I just make one other comment is that the choices that they made in regards to handling the material that was cut probably increased the cost substantially. Everything was carried up the road, put into a chipper, and then blown back down onto the landscape, and could be done a little bit more cheaply, I think, a little more efficiently. Why not pile and burn? Why not, mobile chipper? But there's considerations. I think we just need to be very serious into thinking about, cost efficiency as opposed to environmental compliance cost efficiency. One of my observations, the professional, I have my preferences how I write prescriptions, but I think that should be a component of the review, Ann.
Yes, and some of the costs associated with working the coastal zone will be higher because we have very specific requirements that we're adhering to.
Thank you. Other comments? Director McMillan.
I assume, Anne, that area had never, ever been treated ever. So, of course, the initial cost, while staggering, is going to be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then circling back on some kind of regular basis for maintenance will be significantly less.
Substantially, yeah.
Yes, I believe so. We had not ever treated that area. I don't know of any previous treatments. It was very decadent. And it's a high priority for the locals, for Inverness PUD. The neighbors were thrilled that we were doing work in that area. They have been waiting for a long time to see work.
What kind of return interval are you thinking?
Talking with David Briggs with iPud, I think we're thinking every 3 to 5 years. Yeah. There are a lot of priorities, and so it'll be a challenge to get to everything.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. This is not an action item. So unless the board has any other comments, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is 8 committee reports. The first one is Operations Committee Oral Report. So are you going to present it, Mark?
I think that's going to be me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I did already cover it. Right. So I think I will just share the slides from the Operations Committee here. I unfortunately don't have the updated strategic guidance on here, but so one of the tasks we needed to take on for the Operations Committee was updating the strategic guidance. And then, so I'll go through what the strategic guidance is and then note that we added one more. So generally, the house out approach still governs all of what we do. So continue the house out approach. Home hardening and D-space continue to reduce wildfire risk to communities by providing resources directly to residents for home hardening and defensible space activities. Shaded fuel breaks. Prioritize shaded fuel breaks directly adjacent to communities and explore the potential for strategically placed landscape area treatments or splats informed by pathways modeling. Prescribed fire, expand the use of prescribed fire and public education and involvement around beneficial fire. Evacuations, continue to prioritize evacuation planning and projects to improve safe and efficient evacuations. And insurance, here, I'll make this larger for you. Partner with insurance companies and the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, or IBHS, to help avoid insurance cancellations and control costs for homeowners. Public education, increase public education, particularly to new audiences, support activities that fire agencies and Marin residents can take, such as home hardening and defensible space, particularly Zone 0, safe evacuations, and reducing human caused ignitions. The number 8 item we removed because it was no longer relevant and was taken care of during this previous year. So each year, the Operations Committee takes a moment to review the guidance and provide input, and the new item this year was related to ignition reduction, and that was proposed by Chief Roman. So that was the big change for the year, and we wrote it during the meeting in real time. So it was a good working session there. So I think that's the main takeaway. Happy to take questions.
Any questions from the board? Comments? Now it's time for public comment. Are there any members of the public present or online that would like to make a comment on this item?
I see no hands at this time.
Okay. Hearing no public comments, we'll move on to the next item, which is item 8. Well, I think it should be B, right? It's not AA, it's B. Fire Safe Marin Education and Outreach Report. And that will be you,
Yes, good afternoon,
Tyler?
directors. Bill Tyler with Fire Safe Marin. Just one correction on the 8B. It says February Fire Safe Marin report. We always report in arrears, so this is actually January's report. And I just wanted to take a moment to touch on a couple of highlights, and then we were going to try something tricky here. But you know, one of the highlights always of the month is the newsletter. And, you know, as you get into the winter months, you know, sometimes the focus isn't so much on fire. And so we work hard to make sure that there's great content that people still find very readable. And in January, we talked about, you know, different insurance items that can help homeowners, you know, reduce the cost of insurance and maintain high quality insurance. We also gave an update on the Zone 0 regulations, which were originally anticipated, ordered by the governor to be completed. And of course, that got postponed and pushed into the March, April timeframe before it'll be addressed again. So we talked about that in the newsletter. Also, we had completed a renter's guide, which we pushed out both in English and in Spanish. This renter's guide was specifically designed for renters, and there's quite a lot of those out in Marin County. And we worked with the other fire agencies to make sure that all the different components were included. And so that was sent out both electronically, social media, newsletter, and we're in the process of printing those both in English and Spanish, so that by the time we hit the springtime tabling events, they'll be ready to hand out, you know, to people face to face. What I want to try and do now is just share with you, Paige, is it up on the screen? There we go. So this is an information sheet that gets sent out to all of the agencies when we share different media content that has been completed. And so I'm really excited about these new 90-second reduce the risk videos that are available on social media right now. And the intent was we took some of our 6-minute videos that focus on various architectural features on a home that need hardening. And the direct connection with our residents has to do through their assessment reports. So these videos are being taken and embedded in each one of the findings. So if an evaluator or inspector goes out and sees that someone has an issue with the deck, with their eaves, with their vents, etc., this video will be linked to the report so that the individual can click on it and then get a very quick visual understanding of what's needed. And so we're really excited about these. They're already taking off, you know, in terms of views. And I just wanted to take, and they're in English right now. We've also are working through having them produced in Spanish using AI techniques. And the only reason why we haven't converted those is we've got to go back and get permission. When you use AI to do translations, which makes the video image look as if the person is actually speaking Spanish, you have to get a different level of agreement that they're okay with you, using their image and their voice in that way. And so we're in the process of doing that, but very quickly we should be able to have these all come out in Spanish as well, which was an exciting development. But if this works, I just wanted to go ahead and play one of these for you. It's only 90 seconds. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at these, but I imagine some of you may not have had a chance to. So I just want to show you one as an example. If we can, yes, please, number 6.
Hardening out buildings.
So what we're trying to do is get the audio up on these as well. So give us 1 second.
While they work through this, I do want to share one quick story. That resident that was able to get off the California Fair Plan had to remove some flammable siding that was 6 inches from their foundation. And they actually went to Fire Safe Marin's website, showed the contractor that portion of the video, and they used that information to do the work.
I want to add that I viewed too, I spent $100,000 on hardening my home. And there were 2 problems I have that I didn't know how to solve them. And I went to the deck, 90-second deck, and the answer was there. And the fence, I was surprised at how simple it was. This stuff is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, basically the idea is that we want people to, everybody can spare 90 seconds to go ahead and watch this, and that we want them to look at it and see and be able to say, oh, I get it. I see what this is. I can do this, and just, help motivate them to making that change. These videos are also the basis of our contractor training, which we're in process right now, funded through the Marin Community Foundation. So we'll be very excited to share that with you once that's ready as a pilot. But looks like we're not going to be able to get the audio together. Yeah, yeah. I want to thank staff for trying to get this together. It's an AV constraint, I guess, here. But anyway, that's the end of my report. Yeah, no, I know you're going on to other things. So end of my report, and I'll be back for February with even more. Thank you.
Okay. So I'd like to take questions and comments from our board.
I have a question. Thank you very much, and really thrilled to see the 90-second videos. Do you have plans to add evacuation tips to that?
There is an evacuation video that starring Mark Brown, your executive director. It's Get Downhill Alive.
No, I love it. It's a thrill. It's 10 minutes long.
Oh, you want a 90-second
Yeah.
version? Okay. Yeah, no, we can work on it. I have seen him do it in Spanish, though. I can tell you that.
The reason I bring it up is our Emergency Prep Commission has had success getting a team of students at Tamalpais High School spun up as an emergency prep team for that community. And we have a meeting with them next week together with one of our EPC members who is a brilliant interactive media designer to see how we can TikTokify some of these things to make them even tighter for people to share. So evacuation is the biggest gap in understanding in our community right now. So anything we could do to tighten those up, make them available, and then we can take them from there and make them even more fun, perhaps. So
I know there were a couple of I think there were 15-second versions that are it's Chief Weber and the police chief in Mill Valley. So there are some very short snippets that we have, but we don't have a 90-second version. So I can work on that.
Sounds like a good offer. Okay. Yes. Director McMillan.
Talkify.
Yeah, I'm constantly hearing from my very sophisticated FireWise colleagues in my little Firewise group that they're just overwhelmed by the reports that they get. The assessments is just overwhelming to them because, you know, we're not in compliance on most stuff. And so I'm wondering how we're going to publicize these 90-second snippets because this is exactly what they need and the hand-holding that they're seeking. It's wonderful. So how are we going to publicize this?
Well, so they're being integrated into the Fireside tool. I believe it's something that as there are more and more face-to-face evaluations, which I think is going to be a focus of this next year going forward for those agencies that maybe have had less success with that. I believe they're going to be able to put them into the handheld devices that they have, and they can show the person right there. So that's a way to integrate that face-to-face. Other than that, when they open up their reports, there are the links that are there for them to go get that information. But I don't know how much time is spent, you know, explaining people how to use Fireside, you know.
It might be good just to have an article or something on the Fire Safe Marin website or even MWPA website saying, here's this great new tool that we're having. Here's where you can go. Here's 90 seconds of information that's going to provide you with the comfort that you need to take care of all of these things. Does the report also have a prioritization about which things should be done first?
We're working towards that.
Okay, because that's really important too, to reduce the overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Director Kohler.
Yeah, just want to say, I think those 90-second videos are really important, and I think your newsletter is great. It would be good, maybe when you get those prioritized, to write a Marin voice. You know, there still are some people here that read the IJ. I'm being one of them. But, you know, it gets a broader reach. And so I know you guys are doing a great job with Facebook, Instagram, all that. But let's think about, you know, some of us older folks who read the newspaper. That will help because a lot of us older folks maybe aren't doing all that other stuff. Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment or two also. We were advertising Zone Zero in a box from, oh, sorry.
I did have a question.
Okay, Director Kurtz.
My neighborhood also, they just feel overwhelmed. I just want to go back to your comment about, so it'll be linked to their report. I think it's more than older adults. I think it's just people who don't access the report. Do you recall the open rate from last year or whatever, some time frame of the reports?
The original open report, I don't. I can come back to you with that.
I don't remember it.
I know that we did do, you know, campaign specific push to open your report. And after that, there was a significant increase. And that has been one of the directions that we've been given is to make sure that, you know, driving people to interact with those reports, opening them, because the more frequently they open them, the more likely they are, you know, to actually take action on those mitigations.
I think there's lots of reasons why people don't open, but I think it's more than just being an older adult. So can I shift gears a little bit to the Chipper Day?
Can I just note that we do have a dashboard for Goal 5,
Right.
progress on defensible space and home hardening, and one of the items is residents who have opened their wildfire risk report on the lower left. So just an advertisement to go check it out.
So what's the number? I was actually wondering. 20?
Overall, in 2023, 41, 2024, 43%, 2025, 48%.
So we definitely need to get that going up.
Going up each year a little bit.
Right. Okay. Can I shift questions to the Chipper report, or are you going to do that separately? Okay, so we're going to wait on that one. Okay, great.
So I have a question, Chief Tyler. So we're advertising Zone Zero in a box, and this is a question of the individual agencies that make up our board. How confident are you that the people in the prevention divisions of each of our agencies are familiar with the same, that they know that they're in line with what we're saying at Marin, at Fire Safe Marin? In other words, are they fully up to speed on what that is?
Are they up to speed on Zone Zero in a box?
Yes.
So we're still, Zone Zero in a Box is still new and emerging. So as staff works with each of the member agencies, staff has met with each of the member agencies. So education around Zone Zero, Fire Safe Marin, Zone Zero in a Box, our staff. So two separate items. And so our staff has met with every member agency, and as Kathleen noted, we are expanding where the beta tests are, and eventually every member agency will be well involved.
No, thank you. I'm just thinking about, so here I am, Southern Marin, and I get all of a sudden questions about Zone Zero in a Box from MWPA. Do I know how to respond to that in a uniform way, or is that coming up? Is that,
Point them towards Kathleen and she can take care of the issue.
okay. All right, thank you. So that's good. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much. I will now, let's see, take public comments on this item. Are there any members of the public, either present or online, who wish to make a comment on this report?
I see no hands at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll move on to the next item, which is item 9, information items. A, fiscal year 24-25 Chipper Days annual report. So Director Kurtz will have a chance to talk. Who will present this item?
It was meant to be a standalone item, but we have staff available for any questions.
Oh, do you want to take all three, or what are we?
We could entertain any questions for any of the items.
I'll actually follow up later,
Okay.
since we're going to be moving into the strategics, just in interest of time.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments or questions? This item, this one does not say that we need to take public comment. Okay, item 10, board members' requests regarding future agenda items. Do any board members have a request for future agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 11, action items. The first one, item A, Marin Wildfire Board of Directors Strategic Planning Session. Before we go into this, the question is, do we need a break? Can we take a 5-minute health break? Okay, well, we'll make it 5 to 7 minutes, depending on
break.
how fast you are. Okay, and we'll return at, let's see, 3:25. Thanks. Okay, welcome.
We starting at 2 now, or is this
Just for today. This is just, yeah, sorry. Haven't, we're muted right now. We are? It's time to call back into session at 3:25, and we're going to action item 11. And this is the part where Jean Bonander will lead us in what we've all been waiting for, a strategic planning session. So I know in the meantime, you've been talking to your staff at your agencies and also your ops and ATC members, and you're fully loaded to give us all the information we need to make this a perfect world. As we start out, I want you to know that we have made a list of all of our accomplishments, the highlights of our accomplishments to date, plus all the projects that we've done, which, Jean, are you going to pass them out now?
Martina is doing so
Great.
right now.
The idea is that you will have this as a takeaway. So we're not going to go over it all, but so that you have these items that are takeaways. So I'm going to go into my cheerleader mode here. Because the introductions say that we're all going to talk, I'm starting around the room about highlighting what, our length of service with MWPA and why you're here. But before we do that, I just want to start out by saying some of the things that I think we've accomplished that have been pretty amazing. Because as you know, and Chief Tyler knows, that some of us have been on the Measure C committee from the very first and have served on the board as well. So first of all, congratulations to the board and to the staff for setting up the JPA, setting up goals, bylaws, creating a method of operation, creating a CEQA process that saved each of our jurisdictions enormous amounts of time and energy, because we have been able to corral all of the agencies that need to give approvals into a streamlined method of doing it, which has postponed at least the need for the state legislature to address this. It's our group. We've done this. It's an example. And we've done a tremendous job on public education, created a grants program. We've done a major media blitz, many of them, in fact, through the IJ, through television, and through the things that you see online, the seminars and marks and all of those things. And going back a minute to the environmental review, because from my perspective, for Southern Marin, that's one of the biggest benefits, is that we have all these projects to do, but we have a template to go through, and it's really streamlined our ability to get these things done. And as you know, our constituents want that. That's what they want. So since our start, we've done over 40 environmental packages, and we've had no challenges. That's a big deal. So the other thing is a demonstration of evacuations. Well, Mill Valley did it, and we've incorporated it, and we've done some, and now we have a template for evacuations. That's a big accomplishment. And I think that, the fact that Mark is being asked, like yesterday he was at Stanford, but he's also being asked to speak at least national level to give the experience of MWPA, to me, that's a major accomplishment. And then we go into the science. So we've developed new GIS programs and algorithms that create data that our member agencies can really use. And this is something that I'm going to ask all of you to comment on, or Jean is going to ask you to comment on. And so we've done all of these things. So I just think we are really pretty great. And we're halfway through our bonding period. And I think that my focus will be to build on these. We've done this so much, so many good things and our agencies are taking advantage of it. And if we now see things where some programs don't work so well and some programs work better, it will help us hone in on our priorities. So having said that, and also the field trips, and they're great, really. Okay, so all of these things, I would like to really start with the introductions of all of us on the board to each other. I'm a little sad to see that the empty seats are the ones that I had hoped most would be here to say their experience. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to handle that, but okay, so down at the okay.
Mark.
Would you start with your name, your jurisdiction, your length of service on the board, and why are you here? The truth is good. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Mark White from Stinson Beach Fire Protection District, and I'm here from the very beginning, the very first Measure C. When that went through, we talked on our fire board about things, and they said, "Do you want to be on that board?" I said, "I'll do it this year." Well, it's been what, 5, 6 years now, and it's really been my pleasure to do so, and I really liked it, and it's great to have so many wonderful people that are here from all the jurisdictions of Marin County, plus the great staff that we have here. I just think that everybody here is so great and just so wonderful. And I think what we've done is just really good for everyone and really helps our community as well, our small community. They really want to know what's going on. What are you guys doing? What are you planning over there? How can I make my job better? And we really try and get their attention and say, this is what we can help you do. You know, chipper days and things like that. And they really appreciate those things. So.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
So you're very welcome. You're welcome. Thank you, Gene.
Supervisor Rodoni.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, Dennis Rodoni, I'm District 4 Supervisor, and I'm here. I've been here since the beginning of the JPA and representing the County of Marin. You know, I think initially my interest was just making sure we could stand this up and make sure it could work for our residents, because thanks to our residents, that's the reason we're here, for their support and the dollars they've given us. I think we've done a really good job identifying what was missing in our programs. The lessons learned identified a lot of things that we needed to do to better prepare ourselves. And Marin Wildfire is just one of those things in terms of helping our residents get prepared, better prepared for what may come. And I think that the work we do is focused on wildfire, but actually it prepares our residents for so many other things also that they need to prepare for. So I'm just really pleased to be here. I'm really pleased to have seen the progress that we made. I think our staff has done a wonderful job. We have a really good board that works together and gets things done. We have a great group of people out there doing what I call the day-to-day work. Our ops team and all the advisory committees we have, including the environmental groups that support this program, are so crucial to its success. And so there's so many people that are responsible for us getting this far, and we're going to come back and see a lot of them to make sure that we can take it to the next step, whatever that is. So thank you.
Great.
Rachel Kurtz, representing San Rafael. I'll try to stick to just the question why you are here. When I first started, it was really because I was as so many residents were keyed in on the local fires, having gone through that in Napa and up north. It was just such a heightened area, and we had this great gift of having this funding from Measure C, and to me it was really important to be part of that, and to help the community, ensuring that help to reduce the level of fear, and I think that is happening over time, and as we're moving forward to see how we're going to continue working through that. My focus now, it was very broad of all residents. Now I'm focusing a little bit more on older adults and how older adults would be impacted and how they're impacted across the board, in terms of working through our grant process, working through an evacuation or whatever it is. I think there's other considerations we need to look at for this specific population.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bruce Goins. Let's see. I'm here because of Bill Tyler. Bill Tyler, short story is that this is a continuation of 54 years of professional work that I've been doing. Graduated from Cal, working in the United States Forest Service, managing statewide programs, 19 forests and programs, and working to get this kind of work done. The magic that I heard from Bill was not only did we have everyone at the table, which is amazing, and here we are, but what the magic was is there was funding in place. There was 10 years of funding. And when Bill told me that, Bill, you may remember, but I said, oh my God, I'd like to participate and I'd like to be president. And this is the fact. Twice, yeah. But I got, but let's see. I'm proud of being hands-on in touching everything in the startup, making sure that everything built out properly and everything was working together properly. I spent 4,000 hours, 2 years of full-time work touching everything. And I'm still doing that, much to Mark's dismay. What I'm really proud of, I participated with the environmentally sound practices. My experience going to the Ninth Circuit Court in litigation over little environmental issues was to work with the environmental community. I am particularly proud of our work with FERN, the Fire Environment Resiliency Network, and the relationships that we built in the very beginning in building out environmentally sound practices, which we need to revisit to make sure that they're on track. Our strategic plan, I'm here to make sure that we refresh our strategic plan, that we're clear on our goals and objectives and our metrics, and that we affect a change. I'm looking forward to continuing. And by the way, I'm particularly proud of having picked up the phone with Barbara's suggestion and hiring Gene Bonhender originally 5 years ago. Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
So I'm Julie McMillan from the town of Ross. I was, before I was appointed to the council in 2017, the fires in the North Bay had been raging, and I went to a meeting at the Embassy Suites. There were hundreds of people there, and people were giving testimonials about all those fires, and it made a huge impression on me. And then I joined Catherine and Sashi's MC Disaster Preparedness Committee, and got to work with 2 great leaders and became involved in the Measure C campaign, and then naturally became my town's liaison to the board. And I've been amazed at the lack of controversy, especially from the environmental community. I think staff, Ann and Mark, have done a great job, along with the ESP group, managing conflict before it really develops into conflict. And I remember talking to Bruce and others on the phone, when we were kind of paralyzed about how are we going to deal with all this CEQA stuff. And we found a way to deal with it seamlessly. It's gone really, really well. I think it's unburdened the local agencies and made things much better. So I've really enjoyed starting up an agency and the strategy and the innovation, and not having a template to follow. But I've also really, really enjoyed working with the staff and all the board members. And I've developed good relationships with lots of board members, and become friends with lots of board members. And as you may know, the town of Ross has its own fire station issues. And so I'm able to work with people on this board about those issues. And if I hadn't been here on this board, I wouldn't have those relationships to help navigate in other areas. So I'm so grateful to be on this board and to get to know and work with staff and other board members.
Catherine Way, representing the city of Larkspur. I am at the end of my 3rd term, retiring at the end of the year, but the entire time I've been on the council, my focus has often been working on levels of first responders because I'm a retired nurse. So that included being on the Central Marin Fire Authority, Central Marin Police Authority, representing Marin mayors and council members for over 10 years on the DC3, which is our County Disaster Council. Fred is now replacing me. Various other things. So I've been had been a board member of Fire Safe Marin before this organization got started. I think that was probably 8 or 9 years ago. I was just asking Bill about that. So when this organization got started, I shared early on the rollover between our years with my colleague Gabe Paulson, who worked with you originally. And then I rolled in and rolled off. He covered for a year or so because as this agency started to get more developed and funding, and a lot of the funding for education and outreach was initially brought forward to Fire Safe Marin, I felt that that was a conflict for me to sit on both boards. So I recused myself from here. Gabe took over. Then I recused myself and retired from Fire Safe Marin, even though I've worked with Bill Tyler now for 15 years, it feels like, but so that I could return here and finish out my term in Larkspur being here. One of my motivations for being here is not only because I really have worked with law enforcement and fire for my whole career here, but I'm very proud of the work that Larkspur and Corte Madera have done to look at consolidating and collaborating between our fire departments and eventually creating a Central Marin Fire, which was Larkspur and Corte Madera. And I view this agency as an opportunity to enhance more and more collaboration among all of the various agencies, cities, and towns. And part of my mission when I was first elected was to find out ways we can be more efficient. And often efficiencies means less agencies. So if the end result is more and more collaboration in which agencies start to see opportunities to share services, I would love to see that be an opportunity for this organization as it moves forward. But I'm retiring in December, so good luck with that.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Finn from the Sleepy Hollow Fire Protection District, and I'd like to just pick up on Catherine's theme of collaboration. I've been on the board since the inception, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I come from a tiny little agency that has no history of ever having a fire department. We've always been dependent upon others, and that's made us a collaborator out of necessity. And we feel very vulnerable in Sleepy Hollow. We're surrounded on 3 sides by open space, and we're in a box canyon. And we have no fire station within our district. So we fortunately have now become a junior minority shareholder in the Ross Valley Fire Department. But that isn't sufficient in our opinion, and we wanted to stretch a little bit wider to try to cast the collaboration net to capture every place around that we can benefit from, and we've certainly done that here with the MWPA. So we're really proud to be one of the formative members of the MWPA. One of the things we anticipated was that we'd get tremendous benefits from having a seat at the table in the MWPA, and that has turned out to be true. What I really like at a macro level is that our organization is multidisciplinary. We're at the intersection of fire science and environmental science and computer science and social science and political science. And all of that, I think, makes this the unique agency that it's come to be recognized as. So we're a hybrid. We're both a public works agency in a sense, but we're also a think tank in a sense, and we're a task force in a sense as well. And I like the nimbleness and the flexibility that we have here. And I hope that we can continue to be refreshingly low in terms of bureaucratic ossification and stay autonomous, which I think is very important. So we're really proud to be part of the agency and glad to be here.
Thanks. I'm Barbara Kohler. I'm a Town of Fairfax council member. I got involved before the group was formed, before Measure C, when Katie Rice started convening sessions on the campaign. Rich Shortall was involved. A number of folks were involved. I think Julie was involved as well. And, we saw the need. I think some feel that the grand jury report created it. I don't think so. I think the fires created us. And as mayor 3 times, I've convened our disaster council. No other mayor has done it since 2006. Until last year, our mayor did it. But very concerned. I mean, those of you who've been to Fairfax, you got to love those hills, right? You go up the hill, you can't pass a car, all kinds of vegetation everywhere. People love their vegetation next to their houses. It's kind of scary, and we have a very heightened awareness, and folks not necessarily appreciating, what's happening in this group as far as they keep being worried about evacuations. We all should be. But the other group that I was on before this was the Public Disaster Emergency Preparedness Group for about 3 years. That's how I met Bill Tyler when he was just a lonely battalion chief who was really about emergency preparedness. And so many fire agents were more involved in fire suppression, but he was carrying the banner back then. And so why I'm here, obviously I care about this issue, and also thinking back to when we first started with Jason Weber somehow trying to be county fire chief, Ross Valley fire chief. He did that for a while, and juggling all this to start us out, and then Bruce stepping in as president. It was a little crazy, but very seamless. And it also, we did this during COVID. We started in May 2020. So we never met in person. It was all a lot. And I think just the dedication of people just digging in and working together. It's pretty hard to get 17 people in a room to agree. And there was a lot of agreement in the early days. And I think Bruce's leadership really helped us. And that's why when it came to year 2, I proposed that Bruce stay on. But so many folks brought to the table dedication and willingness to work. Catherine was there in the early days. Tom was there. Julie, so many of us there when it started. And you look today and say, how the heck did we come this far? Because it's pretty damn far. And there's so much the on the ground work of the resident grants, chipper days, which people really, some people, that's all they know. But some of the other incredible work that we've done. But I do want to say, that's why I'm here. And I had to fight to get on this board when we were first delegating out who could be on boards. There was somebody who got on our council who was brand new and wanted to take it and had people calling in saying it should be her. And I fought pretty hard. So I'm glad I'm part of this group. I think one of the things we can all pat staff on the back and ourselves of where we've come. But I think we do need to look at what could we do differently? What has worked? What is resonating with people out there, and is there a different way that we should do business when we move on to hopefully renewing the measure? Because to see this split apart after so much has been accomplished, but so much more left to do, would be just tragic. So I care, I believe, and I'm on my 4th term on the Fairfax Council and not planning to re-up, but supposedly I'm there through 2028. So hopefully I'll be here unless they kick me off. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure. And I really want to say I sit on another board of a lot of board members, and I haven't seen this level of agreement. So I think we all just generally care from our different perspectives. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm going to skip me and go right to Fred.
Fred Casisa, I represent Corte Madera. I feel like I'm the newest person here, given that a lot of people had experience when it first started. I was on for a couple of years, I think for 2 years, and then I rotated off, and so now I'm back on. I'm really happy I'm back on. I think Julie kind of hit the nail on the head, where a lot of this, it's relationship based. And I know I also sit on RVPA, and I know I've had discussions with Tom, Catherine, I see her all the time out walking. Julie and I have had coffee a whole bunch of times. So again, that's the collaboration part. Back pre-COVID, Corte Madera we used to run our own mini MWPA, where we hired somebody part-time. She went around, she put dumpsters in neighborhoods for chipper type days. She ran crews to do vegetation management. MWPA, it's kind of like that program, but on steroids. And I think a lot of times also, I think sometimes for me, I live in my own world, little world, which is Corte Madera. But the fire, it's not just a Corte Madera problem. If there's a fire in Corte Madera, potentially it's going to hit Mill Valley, it's going to hit Larkspur, and then it's going to extend out. So I think this organization is looking at more like a county-wide type problem, which it is. From an organizational standpoint, I'm sorry, I'm also on D3, so I like the disaster type stuff. I also sit on CMPA, Central Marin Police. I think from an organizational standpoint, this is one of the best models I've seen. I want to say statewide and probably countrywide, because I know Mark a lot of times will get questions from either other cities, other counties saying, how did you guys set that up? When you look at it from a financial standpoint, it's equity because of I believe 10 cents based upon square footage on your property tax. Only certain percentage can be used on admin fees, and then there's no pension. So there's no liability down the road. So I just think it's the model, and then bringing everybody together, even though we're on completely different parts of the county, we all have the same common interest. The one big thing for me, it's always evacuation, and I worry about Christmas Tree Hill, and I'm going to throw in Larkspur because we have Magnolia, and then we have Baltimore Canyon. I just worry from an evacuation standpoint, we're going to have a lot of cars getting dumped out on a Magnolia, trying to figure out how to get out of there. And I know the evacuation is a piece of MWPA. I also like the idea that early on, it was partnered with environmentalists. Because I know when I first met Mark and he did the orientation, I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be, 35 or 38 miles, Ross Valley, Cherry Fubic. It's going to be clear cutting like 200 yards. He's like, no, we're not doing that. So again, it's environmental friendly. So it's not just going, this is what we're doing, what we want to do. It's trying to figure out how to partner with other groups and trying to figure out what benefits the county as a whole. So again, and I just really enjoy being here.
Great, thank you. Steve.
Oh, tough acts to follow. I'm Stephen Burke, City of Mill Valley, 14,000 people, 94941, which we also incorporate as 30,000 people. So I feel like I kind of represent that audience. I followed Sashi onto this board and served on the finance committee for a couple of years. And I believe this JPA is a model of governance and management that could be influential in other endeavors that we need to undertake as a county, and I would highlight housing as a focal point there. If we can figure out how to leverage the learnings from this group and this experience to solve additional big problems collectively, we can be very successful as a county. So this is a board I always look forward to attending and getting up to speed on. It's so well managed and so thoughtful. I really liked Tom's comments about the breadth of impacts that MWPA has. And I'm particularly enamored of the data and the science. And like Fred, my primary focus is evacuation now. We give ourselves credit for what we've done over the last few years. It's just scratching the surface of what we need to do to face our fears as a community. Last year as mayor, I dedicated our agendas to emergency prep and brought before us everybody we could gather, from MWPA to Southern Marin Fire to PG&E to the OEM to FEMA, et cetera. And my conclusion is there's still an enormous gap between our public safety experts in preparedness and what our residents understand. So my focus this year and for the remainder of my time on council is really closing that gap at our school levels, trying to get the learnings from MWPA and Fire Safe Marin and others back into our curriculum. It went out during COVID, has not gotten back in, and basically into our neighborhood associations. We need to form more NRGs. We have a lot of work to do to prepare our residents, and everything that MWPA has built can be applied directly to what we need to do. So I'm really grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, sorry, I have one other point.
And
This is a really critical meeting, and I think there maybe will need to be more than one as you do a 5-year look ahead at orienting the agency towards a new set of goals or doubling down on existing goals and winning the vote. Really have to think about winning the vote in an extremely crowded, tax-averse, tax-fatigued community. It's not a slam dunk. So, thank you.
I'm Catherine Hilliard. I represent Southern Marin Fire District. I've been on since inception and Measure C, but even before Measure C, we had in Southern Marin Measure U. After the Tubbs fire, after the Santa Rosa fires, and our first, of course, for a fire district, the first thing is responding to all types of emergencies as fast as possible with the best equipped, best trained people, operations. But our public said, wait, we live in a WUI, whatever that is, right? So now I understand what a WUI is. And just driving up my street, Tam Valley, which Director Burke also represents on the board, I look around and my enlightened self-interest is we have to do more chipper days. We have to do things to really thin out what's there because basically I'm toast. I have a house that has siding on it that has wormwood. How beautiful. Perfect place for embers. In listening to the presentations, I also think that, it's wonderful that we got someone in the Inverness area, but I've got all the concept, but I don't have $100,000. So I have to figure out what to do. And I'm just so privileged to be on a board where we've been in existence for 5 years and we have 5 presidents sitting here. And every one of them has stayed and has tremendous ideas. And all of the rest of you've been here from the beginning and given us vital information so we're not isolated. We're talking about from the ground up. So this is wonderful, and what I'm really hoping for today is we dig deep and come up with some, and please be really honest, brutally honest about how you feel and what your constituents are telling you. So now it's my privilege to turn this over to Jean Bonander, who will lead the discussion. And I see some refreshments. How are we supposed to handle those? Okay, so during the session, if you get thirsty, just help yourself. Thanks to MWPA. Okay, so I guess we will have a series of questions, and Jean, take it away.
I will, but before we do that, under advice of legal counsel, we'd like to open it up to any public comment that may be of interest related to the strategic planning session. How I normally organize a strategic planning session is take public comment in advance, advise the members of the public that the body is going to be in discussion and there'll be no public comment during the discussion, but we'll also leave time at the end of when we close, if any members of the public have a comment to make at the end of the session, we'd be happy to have that. So with that, Martina, are there any members of the public that wish to comment at the present time?
There are no hands at this time, none in the virtual environment, and there are no public present in the room.
Great, thank you very much.
We have one late arrival to public comment.
Okay.
One moment, please. Okay, and Mr. Minikis, you should be able to deliver your comment. Please remember and be advised that comments may be no longer than 2 minutes. Sir, your time will begin as soon as you begin speaking.
Well, I hope you can hear me. I'm up in Oregon and I only have a bar or
Mr.
two here, but
Minikis, can you hear us? You should be able
yes,
to unmute yourself.
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You can?
Okay, no.
Please hold board. We will address a audio issue. Just a second.
Martina, can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me now? Let me try. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir. Please
Oh,
comment at this
thanks.
time.
I'm sorry. I'm in Oregon and I only have a bar or two here, but I just want to express my appreciation for all the comments this afternoon. You know, I started writing about the need for prescribed fire in the late 90s, and I actually authored a Marin Voice piece in 2006 suggesting that if we don't start doing something, if we keep kicking the can down the road, we're going to see our fire insurance rates go up. So I cannot tell, this fulfills a dream in some ways, that I had hoped that we would get to the point that we would start doing prescribed burning in this county and take the need for managing our forests and our environment seriously and bring back Native American practices. So I cannot be more proud of all the work that everyone's doing there. And thank you for hearing me. And good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
And there are no additional hands for comment at this time.
Okay, very good. We have, I'd like to do just a quick overview of the staff report that accompanied your packet for this meeting. And just, and then it finishes with 4 questions that we'd like you to address today and then talk about a little bit more about what you would like to do next. So as Steve indicated, there may be a need for a follow-up meeting, and if so, we'll need to work out those logistics. But the questions are designed to be broad and encourage discussion, and as your president noted, the more honest and straightforward and candid you can be, that would be great. The executive committee asked us in this staff report to share some very basic baseline information about MWPA, just reminding you, and you all, frankly, are far more articulate about this than I am about how MWPA came about when it started. And I remember when in 2020, when we were forming and during COVID and trying to bring a group of 17 people together online, all of us technologically somewhat not proficient, and half of the people online didn't know each other, and how we were able to bring everybody together to come up with this dynamic that is occurring presently is just a remarkable feat. So the board members wanted me to just, talk a little bit about formation and how you came together, 17 members. And just a reminder, for you all, it is a common practice to work together in Marin County. Many of you are involved in multiple joint powers authority. When I first came to Marin County in 1989 as a fledgling city manager, I was astonished to find that I was going to be expected to attend and participate in as many as 37 joint powers agreements and collective agreements that were in place at the time. And I would be shocked if that has diminished very much. But it was an amazing array of collective activity. And I had come from a county that was more dog eat dog than it was collective and collaborative. And it just was a delight. And so that is something that I would like you to keep in mind. What is common to you, this collaboration, this ability to work together, frankly, is not common elsewhere. And I think that's the biggest challenge in scaling up for this model, is Other agencies are going to have to figure out how to work together first before they can make something like this work. So you set up your organization administratively. You've got an executive committee, finance committee. You have a technical advisory committee, which is not a which is a guidance group, and you have an operations committee, and they all roll up into the activities that you all address as board members. And then just a reminder about the voting practices. How MWPA votes is a combination of quorum, the number of voters, and the population percentage. So that's also an unusual factor in activity in how you come to agreement. So, and that's another feature that encourages collaboration. You can't, there aren't, you know, 2 or 3 agencies, for instance, that can steer the entire focus. Everybody's involved, and that ability to cooperate for your voting activity is critically important. So with that, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mark Brown, who's going to do a quick overview on how our finances work here at Marin Wildfire, and give you a short overview on a whiteboard, and then we're going to start by tackling the 4 questions, and I'll come back to those.
And you're probably going, we're on the board, we know the budget, we don't really need you to walk us through the budget, but I almost all but guarantee you, even those of you who are the OG, you will learn something new about our budget today. It's supposedly a simple budget, but it's nuanced. And so I think some of the nuances that we have are important to cover. And I'm going to walk you through how we start our budget framework, how it gets divided up, and some of the nuances of those divisions when we start dividing it up. And it's not the spot about public comment. I had this just in case. Come on.
Mark, do you think it might be a good idea to move the whiteboard over there, since
You tell me.
it just seems like
I'm happy to move wherever works for you.
poor Anne, it'll be behind her head, but the rest of us are kind of sitting over here
Okay.
on this side.
I'm happy. So, yeah. Perfect. Now, this is a table out of a report that you guys see every year. It's one of those ones that's buried in information items. I think it's Assembly Bill 165 that requires us to post this. It has where we get all of our funding from. To be able to create this table is one of the first things I did when I got hired with MWPA, because, as you know, we have the 80% return to source clause. If we have an 80% return to source clause, we have to know where the money's coming from for each of the 5 zones. So I was able to work with the county and with NBS, who does our tax levy, take the APN numbers and look at the APN maps and align it with our 5 zones. The first, I don't know if it's called an APN block or not, but the first 3 digits I was calling the APN block. Almost all of our 5 zones neatly fit into the APN blocks, or the other way around. The APN blocks fit into the 5 zones, minus about 5 blocks cross-contaminated 2 different zones. And so we had to go a little bit layer deeper to find a differentiation, so that when NBS does the tax roll, we literally can get down to the penny where the money is coming from. And here's one of the nuances I'll share with you. This is where we come up with the budget numbers that you've seen of 26% of our budget comes from Novato. 27% of our budget comes from the San Rafael zone. 23% comes from the Ross Valley. 18% comes from the Southern Marin area. And 6% of our budget comes from West Marin. That's literally by us dividing 5938369.14 by 22,781,824.74 will get you 26% for Novato. I promise that those add up to 100%. But let's look at the parcel counts. Let's look at Novato and San Rafael specifically now. You see the parcel count in Novato is 21,478. Parcel count for San Rafael is 20,731. Yet San Rafael brings in more revenue. And if you look at West Marin, or not West Marin, Southern Marin and Ross Valley, you see a similar thing where Ross Valley has a smaller parcel count, but a larger, excuse me, the other way around. But you see, so what is driving, specifically Novato and San Rafael, why is there a difference between the two? That the parcel, the larger parcel count.
All the open space, all the,
Commercial. Our levy applies to commercial spaces. And so when you have the areas that have a larger commercial footprint, they're generating more of the revenue now. And so that's one of the things that I think we need to understand. Whereas when you look at Novato and San Rafael, they're 26 and 27, Novato being 26, San Rafael being 27. When you look at the population numbers, which as Gene pointed out, is basis on the voting, it's not 26 and 27. So San Rafael actually has a higher population count than Novato. Between the two of them, you add them up, they're about 48% of our population, as opposed to 53% of our revenue. And just so you know, we started out as 10 cents per square foot. First year, we did not do a COLA. Second year, we started adding COLAs. We're now at $0.1114 per square foot. And then we also have like $83 a unit for multifamily structures. We have an unimproved parcel. So now let's start talking about how we walk through this. 22,781,824. Ann, help me out here. This is how we start with the first budget number. So we won't go to the cents. So 22,781,824 times, we have to figure out what COLA we think we're going to have. Looking at the CPI, the December CPI was 2.4%. We prefer to be conservative with that estimate, so we are estimating 2%. So can we take that number and multiply by 1.02, and that'll give us what our starting budget number is. And if you let me know what that is.
Okay, I've got 23,237,460. And if we're not doing pennies, I'll stop there.
We're not doing pennies. So that's our starting number. Then we also earn interest on the money that we have. We've been conservative with that interest number. We've been budgeting $200,000 a year for interest. It usually comes in higher, but again, we like to be conservative on that. So we put 200,000 on that.
so is the money in LAIF? Where's the money sitting?
We have it in with the county of Marin and their treasury bonds.
Okay. So that's our budget for 26, 27?
That's what we are starting for 26, 27.
Okay.
Let me put that in here. So we
note that expected 20 million.
Right.
Put on the ballot, I think it's 20 million.
Right.
And so you understand that a lot of this has been in the square footage cost of the size of the houses may have been larger.
it's actually, and so that's a great question because Marin County is all but built out, right? The number of new construction has been very, very little. That from our original 19 million that we had year one to what we have now is purely on the COLAs that we've had. Very little on the cost of living or on the increased square footage. And as simple as this process was that I just went through, when we compare to actual to estimate every year, we're usually 0.5% off with this estimate. That's how stable our revenue is.
Just remember, if you have questions, please grab a microphone near you.
Go ahead, Catherine.
So I know we're built out, but each of our cities is experiencing RENA numbers that we're anticipating have to be enacted within the next 8 years. I know Larkspur is looking at 2 large developments that are going to be in the Larkspur Landing area of 250 to 287 units. So are we anticipating what cities may be projecting for increasing their housing stock in the next 5 years for what we can do for our cost of living increase?
To the best of our abilities, yes.
Yeah.
But then another question I have is, it'll be interesting math, is San Rafael with Northgate, with the decrease of, that's going to decrease the square footage.
Of retail space, yeah.
Of retail space, but it's going to increase occupancies where we're getting 80. So it'll be an interesting math equation to work through.
Yeah, I think that's going to maybe, I mean, we're looking at it for what's going to do to our property tax valuation and fluctuation when they come online.
Right.
I'm wondering if there's a way we can start to look at some of those projects that will be coming online in the next, before our term, the 5-year term expires, will be coming online, how that's going to affect our budget.
Right. And
Just remember the 100% affordable, zero.
Yeah, these
sale.
are not.
No, one of them is.
That's the Oak Village. This is 2 different things that are
Oh,
happening.
okay.
Yeah, one in Corte Madera that is coming online is 100% affordable, so that will be an exempt parcel. But there are lots of others that are anticipated.
I guess I just want to interrupt and say, I think we need to be careful about starting to count our chickens for these RENA numbers, because we know some of them will happen, but construction takes time as well, and some of them won't happen.
Julie?
So my question was kind of similar. It was Ross is doing the bulk of its RENA numbers by ADUs. So I'm wondering, when someone gets an ADU approved and built and signed off and for occupancy, is that also subject to MWPA tax?
Yes, it is.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so now we know, once we have our total budget number, we have 3 budget centers. Again, we're supposedly a simple budget: 60% core, 20% local, 20% D-space. So Ann, can we do 23,437,460 times 0.6?
14,062,476.
So 14,062,476, that's our core budget. So give me what our 20% totals are.
4,687,492.
So then we'll call that D-space, and we'll call this local. Fortunately, for easy math, they're the same number, right? So then we go here and take a look at the slides. This is now based on the revenue generation now, not for each zone, the revenue generation for each agency was one of the first calculations that was worked out. Jason Weber worked with the county to figure out those numbers right out the chute. These are the percentages we came with. And so now you see the local D-space and the local and D-space disbursements that go to each member agency. Now, you would think, using West Marin as an example, if we were to add up 28,447, 24,198, 388, 503, 31,825 and get a total for that 20%, you would think that you would be able to multiply it by 3 to get to the 60%, but you can't. And can you add up those 4 numbers, please? 24,198.
Which ones?
Right here. I'll read them off to you. You ready?
Okay. Wait.
Tell me when you're ready.
Ready. This is a lot of math.
I can do it if you like.
Okay.
Too many tabs open.
28,447.
28,447.
24,198.
24,198.
388,503.
388,503.
31,825.
31, 825.
Yeah. How much does that add up to?
472, 973.
Now, do me a favor.
Yeah.
West Marin's, that's West Marin's 20% numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
14,062,476 times 0.06. What does that equal? That's how much core dollars were earned in West Marin. So what was that number?
You went too fast for me.
14
14
062
062
476
476
times 0.06.
times 0.06 or 60?
06.
06. 843 749.
So out of the 14 million core dollars that were earned in the county, 843,000 of it was earned in West Marin. Our 20% for all the West Marin agencies added up is 472. Can we do 472, 973
472 973
times 3?
times 3.
Because 20% times 3 should equal 60%, right? This is our 60% number for West Marin.
1,418,919.
900 what?
19.
So why the difference? Why doesn't the simple linear math of adding up all the 20% add up? Now let's do one that's a little bit easier. Let's do. I'm going to tell you the answer, but I want to show you the flip side where West Marin doesn't seem to experience the money that it should get. San Rafael, let's do San Rafael, add up 1,107,526.
1,17526
times 70 or plus 78,116
plus 78,116 equals 1,185,642.
So that's the 20% added up. Now can we go to 14 062
062
476
476
times 0.06
times 0.06 equals 843,748,749.
Say that again.
843,749.
That's not right. We're missing a digit, I think, on the original number. 14062.
Yeah, it's the same as the previous.
I meant to say my mistake. 0.27, not 0.06.
Okay.
That's my mistake.
Let's start over again. 14
062
062
476
476
times 0.7.
times
That's what I did wrong.
0.27.
0.27.
3,796,869.
Now let's take the 1,185,642.
Hold on just a sec.
1,185
642
642 times 3
times 3
equals what?
3,556,926.
So in San Rafael, the local dollars add up more than the core. The reason is Marin County Fire. We had to bunch Marin County Fire into one of the zones when we break up this 20% table. But only 4 out of Marin County Fire's 6 stations are in West Marin. 2 of them are in Southern Marin. So right there, 1/3 of their dollars actually come from Southern Marin. Then you have CSA 13, so the upper end of the Lucas Valley, CSA 19, Santa Venetia. So actually half of Marin County Fire's revenue is coming from outside of West Marin. But when we had to bunch it all up, that's why it looks like it's actually West Marin dollars. But if Marin County Fire is doing their job right, and when they spend local money and D-Space money, it's not only in West Marin. And they are doing it right because they're doing inspections in Marin City. They're doing inspections in Throckmorton Ridge. They're doing projects. So I just wanted to point out that nuance. But it also shows you how difficult it is to keep money in West Marin, where we have a lot of work that we need to do.
Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have a lot of people who have to leave because of other meetings. And so I kind of want to make it for sure that we're going to have another one of these sessions to follow up. There are people who need to leave by 5 and 5:30.
Yeah,
So,
we're planning on another session for sure.
okay. And so you answered the question why these things are different. And so keep going, but I just want you to be aware that people are needing to leave.
The next step is the creation of our admin budget. By definition, our admin budget can only be 10% of our core. So easy math, our admin budget I rounded up. That's our admin budget. But you take 14 million minus 1,406, that is our total core budget that we can now expend. Then we have to come up with our JPA-wide budget that goes against that dollar, and then we use the remaining value to set up what the budget target should be for each of the member agencies. And that is a big rub. There's a lot of concern about the size of the JPA budget because as the JPA-wide budget goes up, it decreases money that the zones have direct control over. So, and this will be my last piece to talk about. Let's talk about what is in the JPA-wide budget because, again, it's sensitive and we get it. We get there's a rub. But one of the things I like to point out is that nearly every one of these items have significant impact for each of the zones. So the value of the JPA wide actually still does go back into the zones. Operational costs is our rent. It's paying for some of our communication stuff. It's paying for our website development, our website, so on and so forth. Environmental compliance, and this will be actually one of the first years that we've increased the amount of dollars that are going in environmental compliance. And that's because we had some really expensive environmental compliance projects that happened. Initial studies mitigated neg deck was the first time we did that. That came out of the environmental budget. Engaging in West Marin with the biological surveys. And the thing about the environment costs that I've learned is that they don't go away after you do your first notice of exemption or you do your first PSA. We still have biological surveys that we have to do before each year. We still have geotechnical surveys that we have to do. There's still other environmental things, even though we've got approved packages. So again, those are dollars that are going right back into it. And we could switch this around and say, all right, you know what? We're not going to have a JPA-wide budget anymore for environmental and have that directly attached to the zones. But then now the zones have a sliding target. They don't know how much they can actually budget for their project. It also could, probably out of ignorance and then purposeful, cause people not to have some of the best practices. They may not realize they have to do the biological, and they may skip that biological, and then that could be what ends up landing us in court because we skipped a step. And there's a clause in the JPA that says all indemnification is on Marin Wildfire. Even if it's the member agency that makes the mistake, it's Marin Wildfire that's on the hook for the indemnification. So that's an example for me where I look, it's taken away dollars from a project, from the zones, but it has direct impact to the zones. Another one, fireside D-space inspections. Instead of, we could part it out and say, Mill Valley, your portion of the D-space license is this. Corte Madera, your D-space portion of the D-space license is this for fireside. But instead, we've grouped it into a JPA-wide project so people can focus their D-Space dollars on the actual work rather than a subscription. But again, those are dollars that are JPA-wide dollars are going straight back into the zones. Chipper days, grants, most of these things that you see on here, while they are pulling money away from the zones themselves, end up going right back into the zones. And then we do try to build the zone projects concurrently with the JPA-wide. We come up with an estimate of what the JPA-wide looks like to give our zones a target to shoot for. And while we haven't even improved this, these dollars are still very, very rough. We've given a target for each of the zones to shoot for so they can still be planning their projects. And the good thing about the projects, though, sometimes it sounds like, oh my God, you're giving me a moving number for my budget planning. That's hard to work on a moving number. But the vast majority of our projects are forever projects. The shaded fuel breaks are going to be done forever. The evacuation route improvements are going to be forever. And so if we flipped it and said, let's set the zone budgets first and then use the remainder to set the JPA wide, well, then we have subscriptions that we can no longer pay. We have rent that, because I'll guarantee you the zones, if I were a zone, I would max it out. And I wouldn't leave any money on the side for the JPA wide projects. And then some of our JPA wide funding goes towards our vegetation management specialists. It goes towards our grant specialists. Our smaller agencies would not get any work done if it weren't for the Marin Wildfire staff. So the JPA-wide budget, whether it's fair to the larger agencies or not, benefits the small agencies greatly. But I'll argue still that the JPA-wide benefits the large agencies as well. Chipper days is an example. Our member agencies don't have to lift a finger for chipper days to happen in their zone. The environmental compliance is going right back into the zones. The GIS infrastructure we talked about, built by Marin Wildfire VMS staff with Green Info Network, which is a JPA-wide budget, and it's being used by every single one of our agencies, large or small. So I'm done.
Questions?
Mark, why is there a coastal, what's the $200,000 one on the bottom? I don't understand that. Coastal fuel reduction projects, why is that a JPA-wide?
So that's a good question. So that was the priority funding decision that we made last year to increase the funding in West Marin because it's so little funding is going out to West Marin. And that was last year's dollars. We're just echoing last year's dollars at this table.
And second, can I just note that all of these numbers are very much draft, and I know that one in there is not actually correct. So these don't go with these numbers.
Okay, great. Then another question. There's a communications coordinator. I don't know that the board has heard of or acted upon adding a communications coordinator. Again, I understand this is tentative, but those are two items that I question from the finance committee perspective, executive committee also.
And this is all still in the works, and it needs to work through the process to you.
This is how it's done, and I really appreciate your comments, and it will be dealt with. And so, I'm Commissioner, who are we?
Okay.
Director Kurtz.
I got it. So not talking about the dollars, I'm just kind of going with the first line. So environmental compliance. Yes, absolutely. It makes total sense to have from a JPA perspective, for sure. I think there's full agreement around that, but it's a large dollar amount, even though we're not talking specifically these dollars, it's a large dollar amount of our overall JPA budget. So in terms of how much is new, and when we look at these amounts, are we going to be able, as we're walking through, and this would be probably more of a question on the finance side, but how are we going to look at the work that's what's going into that is monitoring, and we're paying for monitoring because that's going out to the third party. That's not right. So we're paying a third party for that. I think it would be helpful as we're going through thinking about the JPA budget is these are all outsourced costs. And how are we looking at it from new project or monitoring? And do we need that level of skill set from a monitoring perspective? maybe the answer is yes, and there's no question about it. But I think along all these lines, we need to be
Well,
looking
and
at
I'll
that.
give an example with environmental compliance, because Ann does a really good job of breaking down estimated numbers of notices of exemptions, estimated numbers of this or that, and then estimate for what the biological or the geotechnical monitoring will doing. But then when it comes to how we know where those dollars went, every time Panorama or Sequoia invoices us, they actually put the project code that monitoring is going to. So if it's on the San Rafael San Anselmo fuel reduction zone for biological survey, we know that invoice is affiliated to that project. And so we can track to the penny where it's being spent.
Which is great. And I think that that's super important. And I think that as we go forward, thinking about like how many new projects are coming on that we need that expertise of Panorama in terms of monitoring the projects that are already moving forward. And if we're looking at how do we tighten up and allocate funding different ways, then maybe that's a question we do across the board.
Thank you. Okay.
I just had a brief comment. And I look at the environmental line item as much more than just monitoring. And I almost look at it as an insurance policy to prevent us from litigation exposure. And so I know we're not talking about the budget right now, but to me, it's like, well, why would we change this? Nothing's broken. It's been working seamlessly. And I agree, maybe there's projects that are just monitoring and maybe we could pivot away from Panorama, but I think that's probably the exception. That's my comment.
I wanted to say that this is how it's done. This is how it's done now. The actual policy and the final budget is up to us. And we will go over all these questions in detail and say, this is not what we intended, or this is what we intended. But for me, this was an amazing how-to, because it's so complex. I needed to see the complexity, because in a graph, it looks so straightforward. And I couldn't how come this comes out 122%? Or why is this, why don't as you pointed out, why isn't two or three times this number equal to that number? And that's all of the things that we heard today. But this is the focus. That's what we're going to try to get out of this. Where do we go next? We've spent a certain amount of money now up to this point, and our strategic planning is going to help us get to, is that the right direction, or do we want to refocus? The law requires us to do these percentages, but within those percentages, are we headed in the right direction? And that's what we want to do. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jean. And thank you so much, Mark. That was amazing.
Well, and my question is back to you. We've got a half an hour before 5 o'clock, and this is asking a lot of you. We have 4 very critical questions, and I'd like to highlight for you that the executive committee came up with these questions and the strategy. And in particular, we'd like to call out Rachel Kurtz, who also worked with her friend Chat and came up with a synthesis of these questions, which we did a little bit of reworking on. But so we have 4 questions for you. I frankly don't think that you ought to start on this today. I think that our next question for you is logistically, what do you want to do next, and how do you want to do it? Do you want to do it attached to a board meeting? Do you want to do it a separate half-day session? Do you want to have a party while you're doing it? Do you want to? What choices? So if I could get a few comments, that would be helpful. Bruce?
Dennis suggested over a month ago that we consider a separate retreat, and we do it perhaps on a Saturday, 4 hours somewhere, and that we can all prepare and focus. I've had a long day. I had a long day yesterday, late night, and long day today. And I'm prepared. I have 4 pages of written input here, but we're not going to have time for that. So
You're limited to 2
I
minutes.
suggest we think Dennis's recommendation and try to schedule that on the calendar.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
So-
too much.
Yeah, so
So
for
the,
4 hours, a Saturday, a Friday, what, given the schedules that you have, what do you think might work best? Saturday for Dennis? Friday works for Mark.
I
Okay.
think for me, I think if we're going to do this, we should do it on a Saturday. I know my schedule probably isn't as intense as Dennis's, but I always have stuff on Fridays. And so but I also think we need to really encourage our smaller jurisdictions to be here. And I think what we talked about yesterday with Eugene is giving people time. It sounds like Bruce is totally prepared, as always. But I think giving people time to really think about it and come prepared, not necessarily with 4 pages, but some real bullet points. But I don't like giving up a Saturday, but it seems like that's a better course of action. Otherwise, we're going to be doing doodle polls and it'll never work.
let's do just, let me just run right down the row here, starting with Mark, is it Mark next to you?
Could you do-
Saturday, can
could
you
you
do
do
Saturday?
Okay, Dennis?
Dennis, can you do Saturday? Rachel,
In June,
okay. Bruce, can you do Saturday? Okay, Julie,
I'm just wondering if there could be a hybrid, like maybe everyone thinks about these 4 questions and gives you their answers and you synthesize, and then the overall meeting can be not going around with the answers, but you could propose what the
Right.
results are and then we could have a discussion. So maybe it's not a 4-hour meeting, maybe it's a 2 or 2.5-hour meeting. And I could do a Saturday.
It's on a Saturday, but I can do a Saturday.
okay. Tom,
Same here, and I concur with Julie's suggestion.
I already said, I mean, my schedule gets crazy, so I may not be available every Saturday, but I agree with Julie's suggestion. I think otherwise we could be here till the beginning of time or the end of time.
Fred,
Yeah, I'm good with Saturday. I do like Julie's suggestion. I think it'll just make it more efficient.
Okay.
But could we also consider adding who our backup council member may be?
Sure.
If they're well informed, because that would expand opportunity. Like I know if I can't make it on a Saturday and Gabe Paulson, who's been very involved in this, could, I think he'd have a lot to add. So coordinate with whoever your backup council person is so that we can try to have them if you can't make it.
Yeah, and these are non-voting sessions, strategic planning doesn't end up with a decision. You are suggesting further staff direction, so there's no decision to be made. So if, say, for instance, Catherine and Gabe are both able to come and contribute, that may lead to another element that the executive committee has been talking about, which is succession planning for the board as well as potentially for staff as needed. And so, Rachel, if you can't make it till June, might your proxy be available? Okay. All right.
and also we ought to really try to get these people here.
Yeah.
And the thing about meeting in person, and I love the suggestions of synthesizing, we'll give you the ideas and then you really already have the bullet points, is that when I hear you talk, I think, oh yeah, that occurred to me, but I wouldn't have thought of it if you hadn't brought it up, and that will refocus me, and that really is helpful. So let's, that would be a good idea. Can we submit our answers to your questions, brief, not 16 pages, Bruce? But, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Okay, bullet point types, okay.
Yeah. Julie?
I have another suggestion on the questions, and that is to maybe have, not to increase everyone's work, but to have subsets of who are the constituents. It's the taxpayers, it's the staff, it's the board, it's all the 17 member jurisdictions, et cetera, just to kind of focus people's responses a little more clearly.
Okay, you indicated taxpayer, staff, board, zones,
Oh, environmentalists
and
too.
environmentalists, okay.
Yeah. Oh, you copied me.
This is great. Okay, and I also want you to, you take along with you the accomplishments so far and the projects so far. This will help you in your thinking.
Yes, and if you could share those documents with your proxy or with your backup, so whoever that person is could also be prepared with the same information.
Can we send those out rather than these hard copies?
Sure.
And then we can share them more easily. I just want to suggest one more thing is perhaps a other category. For example, I met with our city manager and talked to her about all these questions. And one of the things we kind of came to after trying to chew on them was, what about an independent assessment of where we are today? We are very close, all of us are too close to this. I mean, we all have good input, don't get me wrong, but an independent, not with the county spending, sorry, Dennis, of $500,000 on something, but an independent group, and that's not you either, Jean, as much as we love you, you're close to it too.
Correct.
So, you know, looking at it from the outside, are there things that people are hearing out there that is good, bad, ugly, needs to be redone or added?
I would like to suggest that that's too soon. It's, what we need to do is get our opinions together and see, and then if we do an independent outside, which is not a bad idea, but let's take care of our goals and our strategic planning and then see how it matches if we do an outside neutral review.
I'm not suggesting you're doing tomorrow. I think it's, let's get our stuff together, but I think we ought to really think about that in the next few months.
Yeah, one of the elements of strategic planning is what if, what about, what are the other possibilities? And also this, understanding that there mistakes have been made. Some things didn't work and we need to do something differently, and that's okay. An organization like this that had never been created before, you are going to make mistakes, but the best part is that what have you learned from them, and how is that going to allow you to do things differently? And so that's part of this discussion too. One of the questions kind of frames that. What are the frustrations, tensions? How can we streamline? How can we make things a little bit different so that it benefits the entire organization plus the folks that have the most concern about it? So be thinking about that as well. And when you talk with your backup persons. Now, one other question you had asked about having the folks from West Marin be able to attend. One option is, rather than having the meeting here, have it someplace closer to West Marin. Is that
I think if we're doing it on a Saturday, people can get here.
Okay. Just asking. So I'm just curious as to how far you're willing to go to meet on a Saturday. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mark. Same here.
So where are we here?
Just one other process. It's a process question. We're doing a strategic plan. We already have, we have a strategic plan in place because this is a retreat. This is to identify just, what shifts and difference, what key questions do we need to ask? What information do we need to address? We go through the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats phase. The next is to prioritize, which I'm assuming, Jean, that, you'll articulate that, write them down, and then we'll sit down and discuss what are the critical strengths. Well, I think we're really looking at weaknesses, opportunities, and, what this leads us to action items. And so, that we're not going to have the end product here is a list of strategic actions that we're going to take. Mark and all of us, whoever, Gene. But I just want to be clear that we should be focusing on, a handful of critical items that we need to improve our performance, be more efficient and effective. And we might have a half a dozen, but Gene, can you just talk about after the next get together, you'll have this distilled down. Can you just articulate a little bit? What I'm saying is you're going to present this and then we're going to discuss and prioritize, from which we're going to, screen out a handful of actions, not, anyway.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, I just want to be,
Bruce, you're right.
clear on because everybody here is probably engaged in strategic planning.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we all understand that we're going to come up with a
The
handful.
question is right here. What do you want from us, Gene? Where are we going? What are the next steps? That, I think, is the bottom line here, because we're reviewing up to this point, and it gives us a mid-course correction possibility. We have another 5 years to go. So before we do outside, looking in, although I know that's good politically, but seriously, we have come a long way. So let's do the tweaking if we have to. But that's why I asked you to be brutally honest, and we haven't had that opportunity yet. So I think we take it in steps. The next step is what each one of you, what do you want out of this? What does the strategic planning session mean to you? Means to me, we get a clear look at what we think are our positives and negatives, if there are any. And then how do we tweak it so maybe we'll have to change priorities. Maybe we have to within the law, within whatever, but that's what I'm assuming we want. What do you think?
And it's actually not what I think. My job is to reflect what you all are thinking. And so you're the board members, you are the decision makers. So my job is to frame this for you in a way that you can make productive decisions. And so, for instance, Steve, before he left, just whispered in my ear, and the members outside of the organization may have heard it since my microphone was on, but it was a very, very good point. And he said, I'm interested we've spent $100 million so far. And where are we as a result of the $100 million that we spent? And we have $100 million more to spend in the remaining 5 years. Are we clear on our priorities? Is basically what he said. And I thought that was a very concise statement, and I pass it along to you and with his attribution, because he came up with it. I thought it was very good. But what I will do is I will take these questions. I'll take some of the information that I've heard here today. I'll summarize it, get it out to all the board members, plus if you have a proxy or you have a second in command for a board member, we'll send it to them as well, and ask for comments in advance. My intent is to try and get it out next week so that we've got plenty of time to get feedback. And then my suggestion would be that you ought to look at a follow-up meeting in about 3 weeks to 4 weeks. Does that make sense? Does that work?
Everybody has to check their calendar. But yes, I mean, the intent is good. The intent is good.
Well,
yeah.
Part of the challenge is that absolutely, you all have other things going on. Your own budgets are coming up, as well as MWPA's budget. And these are decisions that could really be helpful in crafting that budget and making sure that your wishes are reflected in the information that's coming out on the budget and in the projects and the plans. If you're going to go a different direction, staff needs to know as soon as possible. And one last thing that I just like to say is that MWPA has been around for 5 years. You're dealing with hundreds of years of growth in Marin County when it comes to foliage, pathways, construction, housing, things like that. You don't fix these problems in 5 years. And you've made great headway. However, there is this need for long-term perspective on what you're doing and making sure not only that you're fixing the immediate problems, but laying the groundwork for a much longer pathway, which hopefully the voters will consider when you're talking about this kind of work. This is extraordinarily powerful work, but things just don't get fixed in 5 years. So I know how fast the plants grow in my yard, and I'm sure it does the same for you. And we've all cleared our roads multiple times. So let's try and keep that in the background as well. And I will too when I craft the questions. So.
That's great. Thank you. So first, I want to thank all of you for the endurance. And I want to thank Mark. That was a really painful exercise for me because my brain doesn't work that well with all the but it was really enlightening. You were right. I learned something I had no idea about budgeting. So the next thing is you're going to send out questions that we will respond to, get back to you, and then within 3 to 4 weeks, we'll try to schedule a Saturday meeting, which we will do nothing but this.
Yeah, I'll work with sorry.
Great.
I turned myself off.
And I promise that I'll look at my email.
I'll work with Martina on the scheduling and getting this information out. Before you depart, one last, we did offer the public one last chance to comment after you had done the strategy planning. So please let us ask if any members of the public have any additional comments that they wish to make at this time.
We have several participants online, just giving everyone a moment to raise your hand in the reactions if you would like to deliver a public comment before the meeting adjourns for the day. And there are no hands at this time.
Very good. Thank you very much. And with that, I can't express my appreciation enough for what you all are doing in this county, not only for your individual jurisdictions, but across the board for benefiting the entire region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we are adjourned until next time. Thank you. Thank you all so much.